Well, God has new stuff for us all the time, doesn't He? He has new stuff to show us in His Word. He has new stuff for us to do. He always has new for us. Isn't that a wonderful thing? No matter how old you get, no matter how much of your life you feel is gone, God always has more. And that's just a wonderful thing. We are on week 4 of how to grow. I really hope this has been helping you. Practical things of how to get closer to God. And so we're looking at number 7 and 8 tonight, or this morning, I guess. What time of day is it? And so the main idea that I want you to get from this series, if you want to see better days, you have to grow. Now, when we're talking about growth, that kind of brings up the question, well, what is growth? And we're going to look at that in just a second. But the thing about life is that bad things are always going to happen. It doesn't matter if you're a Christian or if you're atheist. It does not matter. Bad things are going to happen. And if you want to see better days, if you want to be there to see God do great things, you really have to grow. If you stay where you're at, that's all you're going to get is where you're at. I want you to look at your life right now. You are where you are because of what you are doing now. If you want to get somewhere else, you have to do something else. We're going to look at this in just a minute, but so let's not get too crazy here, too out of order. The things that we've been looking at, the first week, we looked at 2 personal ways that you can grow. 2 things that you can do for you. Read the Bible and pray. Really simple things. Not hard, anybody can do it. And if you have a hard time reading, nowadays you are in the golden era if you have a hard time reading. There's a bunch of different translations of the Bible. There's a bunch of different ways you can listen to it. You can read it. You can do all kinds of things. They even turned it into a comic book. I mean, if you can't find a version of the Bible that you can understand, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. But so those were 2 personal ways. Then, the second week, we looked at 2 community things. 2 community ways that you can grow. As a Christian, grow closer to God. These are things that you cannot do yourself. Some ways you can only grow as God works through you. Those 2 ways were connect with the church. Not simply go to the church, but connect with the church. You are the church. Connect like Legos. And then the second way was be correctable, be teachable, be able to be taught something, be able to learn something. You know what I mean? Proverbs says that the fool is wise in his own eyes. He's got it all figured out. He doesn't need anybody else. We were never called to be independent. We were called to be dependent on one another and dependent on Christ. And that is the state of being human. So then last week we looked at 2 secret things. We started looking at the secret things. 2 secret ways to grow. Things that people don't want to talk about, they don't want to do, but it's absolutely essential if you want to grow. The first way was to suffer. Somebody turn on the AC, huh? Nobody wants to suffer. But suffering is essential to growing. If you want to grow, you have to suffer. And then the second secret way was to endure. Not simply do the right thing, but to continue to do the right thing. It's easy to do something good once. It's hard to keep doing it. For those of you who have adopted, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's easy for a week to adopt. That's super easy. It's harder to adopt for years. It's a whole different ballgame. I remember when I was a kid, I was trying to learn the piano. Well, I shouldn't say I was trying to learn the piano. My mom was trying to get me to learn the piano, and it did not go well. Oh, it did not go well. First off, what a drag. There's so many different keys on the piano, and I was like 6 years old. I don't want to learn this. What is this? You got the white keys and the black keys, and you got to practice. That was what broke the camel's back. You don't just know how to play the piano. You got to actually practice it. You sit there and hours and hours and hours. And here's the thing people don't tell you. People aren't always wanting to hear you practice. I remember when I was learning the guitar, practicing in my room, my brother would come in, would you stop it? You got it. You got it. Knock it off. Oh, my goodness. But piano for me was not good. For me, it really was a drag. But I'd look at other people and I'd say, wow, they are so good on the piano. They are so good. I just don't want to have to put forth the work. My brother could play the Star Wars theme song, and good for him. But me, I was just like, no, I'm out. I'm out. I'll just do this whole doot. I guess everybody has their own skill level. But then I said I wanted to learn the guitar. And they said, I don't know. You didn't stick with the piano. I said, I didn't pick the piano. I don't want the piano. I don't like the piano. I mean, I like hearing it good enough. Yeah, everybody likes Beethoven, right? But, hey, by the way, do you guys ever have a hard time hearing in this room? Yeah, I've been talking with a lot of you, and quite a few of you have mentioned it. So, the board and I have come up with a decision, with a solution. That's the word, with a solution. And we are working on it currently. Expect for this room to get a lot easier to hear in over the next coming months, okay? So just hang in there a little bit longer, and you're going to be able to hear a lot better. Just hold on. It's not your ears. You're not getting old. It's just the echo in the room, but we're working on it, okay? Things are looking up. If you're having a hard time, just hang in there a little bit longer. But anyways, back to the guitar. So I said I wanted to learn the guitar, and they're like, well, you didn't really stick with the piano, and okay, all right. So then they got me reluctantly. And within 3 years of starting the piano, I went to national competition, and I won 3rd place in national competition. And when I did this, everybody said, oh, you're so good on the guitar. You're so great. Oh, you're the best thing that's ever happened. You're the best thing since sliced butter. I mean, whatever. And, and then you get the people that do this. And this I hate because I never have an answer to it. Oh, you're so amazing. And then you're just like, okay. What do you respond with that? Thanks. Well, then when you have when you have people say it, like you're just like you don't know where to go with it. And so what I would do is I'd make it my mission to be as stealth as possible. I'd get out of the room, play my thing, get out of the room fast as I could. And oh, those were good times. But I remember, he's just so talented with the music, and it's true. It's true. Some people are born with a better ability at music than others. That's true. That's true. But the reason I was so good at guitar was because I practiced. I didn't perform a secret magic ritual. I just practiced. And then languages. Have you ever learned a second language when you're not a kid, when you're an adult? Have you ever learned a second language? It's hard. It is hard. But you get it by practicing. You get it by practicing. And so when we're talking about growth, it works the exact same. Okay? Growth isn't one of those things that you're just going to be a bigger, stronger, more mature Christian one day. You're not going to get it by reading a bunch of books about God or reading a bunch of books about Christianity. Those are fine. I'm not saying you shouldn't read those books. Fine. Great. But naturally, in your Christian walk, you're going to just kind of reach this place of coasting. It's more comfortable. You don't really have to leave your zone, and it's easier. But growing is a lot harder. You have to put forth effort to it. And for that reason, that's why I say growth is not natural. It's like learning an instrument or a language. You have to work at it. You have to practice. You have to go somewhere. And when we're talking about growth, okay, when we're talking about growth basically means knowing God more. We've been talking about, hey, if you want to see better days, you have to grow. You have to grow. What's growth? Growth is basically knowing God more. It's not natural. It's something you got to work at. And there will never be a point in your life, no matter how old or how young you are, there will never be a point in your life that you don't need to learn how to trust God more. You're going to master this trial, but wait, there's more. If you ever stayed up late for those TV shows, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But wait, there's more. You can do this and the new Kirby. Oh, goodness. Remember, what was that guy, Bill Mays? Was that his name? Bill Mays here with another fantastic product. But wait, there's more. Anyways, and so there's never going to be a point when you don't need to trust God. That's never going to. What we do is we say, I want to grow to this point so I don't have to read the Bible anymore. I'm just going to be strong enough. I don't have to struggle anymore. I want to have faith that's never shaken. You will never have faith that's never shaken. It's not going to happen. Your faith being shaken is how God takes you to grow more. And also, everything that you go through, God is teaching you more about Him. People say, I don't want another test. I don't want another lesson. It's not necessarily about character deficit in you. It's about not realizing the full power and character of God. You're going to go through some struggles. You're going to say, I don't need this. There's nothing in my character that needs to grow. That's not the issue. The issue is you need to trust God with this. That's faith. Faith is your trust in action. Okay? It needs to have something to be expressed in. If nothing bad ever happens, you can't really have faith. It is impossible to have faith in a vacuum. It's not possible. So that takes us to the seventh way you can grow, and that's serving. Now, kids, all the kids here, Chloe and Chris, where are you guys at? I know I saw you earlier. There you are. Micah, Teresa, kids, remember this. At the end of the service, if you can tell me what this means, and not me, I'm sorry, Grace and Shane in the sound booth, you guys wave your hands over there. You can see both of those two hands. If you can see them, go tell them at the end of the service what this word means, and you will get to pick from the prize box. We have a prize box now, okay? A treasure chest, you might even say. So, more will be added to it later, but keep that in mind. The word that I want you to be able to say, serving is doing it for their good. Serving is doing it for their good. Might want to write it down real quick. Serving is doing it for their good. A lot of people say that they serve, but a lot of times what they mean to say is, I like to do things that get all the attention on me. Now, I don't understand that personally because I don't like the attention on me. In fact, I die a little bit inside every single time that I have to be in front of people, which is funny because here I am in front of all you people. But know that deep down inside, each of you are killing me a little bit inside just by being here listening to me talk. I'm just kidding, I kid. So, serving isn't simply doing something. It's doing something for the other person's good. It's not about you. And that's hard because I naturally am a very self-centered person. But to be a true servant, you have to be focused on them. People like me who aren't servants, we don't really get that. We think, but there's a to-do list. We just have to wipe out all the stuff on the to-do list. Then there's these other people, these Mother Teresas out there who, for whatever reason, they're just born with, I don't know, super extra compassion, superpower. I don't know. But they actually genuinely care about other people. And I'm just like, what's your deal? What is your deal? Golly, you're making the rest of us look bad. But, whatever. It's not, serving isn't about so you feel better about yourself. You don't do something for somebody else so you feel better about yourself. Serving isn't about getting recognized. Look what I did. Serving isn't about, I'm doing it just so I can get it done my way. It's not about any of those things. Serving is about doing it for their good. I remember when I first adopted two of my kids. I'm not going to tell you which ones. If you don't know which ones, you're going to have to figure it out. But when I first adopted them, I remember I thought I was adopting them for them. That's what I thought. If you've ever adopted, you know exactly the idea that I'm saying. You think you're doing it for the other person's best interest. Well, throughout the process of going through dealing with CYFD, first off, if you have the courage to deal with them, my hat is off to you. And then besides the whole legal hassle of it, there's the whole living with them. See, I thought I was adopting for them, but I found out I was adopting first off because I felt something. I had an emotional reaction, so I adopted. That makes me wonder if I didn't have an emotional reaction, would I still have done the right thing? Wouldn't you say, by and large, we make our decisions based off of how we feel about something, right? You're not going to say, hey, I hate doing this. Let me do that, right? I mean, typically you're not going to do that. Maybe there are some people out here who do like doing things that they hate, but for the rest of us, it's not really high on our list. And I didn't realize how I was doing a lot of the adoption for me. But what showed me my true heart, my true ugliness deep down inside, was I remember a time when she acted ungrateful. She acted like, now kids do this on occasion, she acted like a little bit of a brat. I couldn't believe myself. A kid acting like a kid. Can you imagine that? The nerve. And I realized that I had this expectation deep inside of me of her always being grateful and owing me something. I didn't realize that this attitude was in my heart. I thought I was doing it all for them. But through the process of serving, that ugliness kind of surfaced. And I realized, there's a good part of this I'm doing it for me. See, it wouldn't have bothered me having to deal with the legal CYFD and all that stuff if I had really been doing it for them. But it did bother me because it was inconvenient and it was a pain. So it were these little things that kind of showed me my heart. And it wasn't something I did consciously. It was just something that was inside that was hidden from me. Did you know that we all have hidden ugliness inside of us? Sin that we don't even know is there. And as we grow, God brings these things out. As we serve people, He shows us. As we read the Bible, He shows us. As people correct us, He shows us. But when we get into a place of living my life by myself, for myself, on my own terms, we handicap ourselves. Philippians 2, 1-4 says it like this: Therefore, if you have any encouragement from being united with Christ, if any comfort from His love, if any common sharing in the Spirit, if any tenderness and compassion, then make my joy complete by being like-minded, having the same love, being one in spirit and of one mind. Wow, that's difficult. It was easy to read. It's hard to do. If you don't believe me, spend time going to churches all across America, and you're going to see this over and over again. People are not like-minded. They're not in the same love, the same spirit, having the same mind. They argue about everything. Now, not just in the church. People, by and large, do this. Especially nowadays, man. Look at the newspaper. Everybody's at each other's throats. But, you know, you'll be this person who's Democrat, this person's a Republican, this person's, white, this one's black, this one's young, this one's old, poor, rich, so on and so forth. And it seems like we have an opinion on everything. And our way is the only way. We cannot live amongst each other. We cannot. But in Philippians, we see something completely separate, where he says, yes, put forth the effort to be of one mind. And then he closes off with this little zinger, this little piece of topping. Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Ah, my heart, the mortal blow to my pride and ego, where I can do nothing from selfish ambition or vain conceit. Now that's very easy to read. But it's very hard to read it and then say, where in my life can I apply this? Do you guys ever do this? Do you ever read the Bible? First off, I'll do it when I got time. But then you got time and you read it, and you don't really say, now, how can I make this fit in my life? And if you don't, go read the book of Numbers. There were this many Israelites here, this many, and then ask yourself, how can I apply this to my life? And you're going to have a hard time, I guarantee you. See, most of us serve with some kind of a motivation, some kind of a bad motivation inside of us. We do it for a feeling. Oh, it makes me feel good when I do this. We do it for praise. We do it for influence over people. You know that book by Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People? We do it for that, win friends and influence people. You kids, I bet you there are some things that you do just so that you don't get in trouble, huh? Yeah, I remember being a kid. Yeah, I'll fold I'll make my bed. Nah, I wouldn't, and then tell my mom saw. I got distracted, I guess, or something. When I was a kid, it seemed like a good excuse. Now that I'm older, I'm just thinking, what on earth distracted you? You got nothing to do. You don't have a job. You just mooch off me all day, golly. But and the hardest thing about serving. The hardest thing about serving others, in my opinion, this might be different for you. In my opinion, the hardest thing about serving others is that it messes up your schedule. You know what I mean? I know what I'm doing in any given week. The kids go to bed at this time. I'm going to work at these hours. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I have my whole week planned out. I know what I'm doing next month. Well, unless there's an emergency that comes up. But if there's not an emergency, I know what I'm doing next month. I know what I'm doing with my schedule. Well, with serving, your schedule gets messed up. And then people don't do things the right way. They don't do it the way you asked. You got to kind of let it go. You know what I mean? Because you're going to get in your mind, this is how it has to be. And so some examples that I wrote down of people that I would say were just servants to the core. The first person that I thought of was my mom. She did everything for other. I'm convinced she didn't actually even enjoy life. I'm convinced. She was ready to go. But everything she did was for everybody else. Everything. And I'm not just saying that like flippantly. I literally mean everything. The only thing that I remember seeing her do for her over the past 3 years at least was she had coffee in the morning. That was for her. That's the only thing I can think of. Every single moment of this woman's life was focused on other people, either the church, the kids, the grandkids, so on and so forth. This is what I would call a servant. She would drop everything to help those people. You know what I mean? Now, this is real big in Hispanic culture. I think that white culture kind of lacks this drastically, is the family connection, family bond. And I remember growing up in California, that was a big thing, and we lived around a lot of Hispanics. And this was a big thing for them. They always had community. They always had togetherness. And I feel like, especially nowadays, we've gotten away from that and kind of to our own harm. As I've traveled to different countries and stuff, I remember in a lot of other countries out there, family is still a big thing, that bond. But we try to live life on our own terms, and it just doesn't really go very well. Another example that I think of, Paul, when he stopped everything to help with the Vans gas line. Rick, when he dropped everything that was going on after Pastor Settle died and filled in at the church. These are examples of what I would say are servants. Another example, Virginia. Where did you go? Virginia, who, as she's being attacked, is still praying for the person who's attacking her. And then as she's recovering very slowly and painfully, is still praying. That's what I would call a servant. Some more examples that I wrote down that I was thinking about this week. Nancy, who sends notes to Thurman, little cards and scriptures and stuff. These are things that inconvenience us. That's what being a servant is. It doesn't matter about your schedule. It matters about them. Serving somebody is doing it for their good. And there's more examples that I can think of. I'm not trying to leave anybody out or pick people out. I could have mentioned Connie with Jane or Robert with how encouraging he is to people. Actually, I will mention that. Hold on a second. There was somebody who came in last week very discouraged, and Robert went over there, and he just told him something that just really changed his whole day. Completely encouraged the guy. So good job, Robert. That's good. That's good. Anyways, these kinds of things where it's a servant's heart, where you're always thinking about other people. And the thing is, God values people. See, I value my to-do list. I value the things that I can get done. This is what makes me a success, is how many things I do. What I can look back on and show that I've done. But in God's kingdom, it doesn't work like that. And in God's kingdom, God values people. And if you go to your grave with nothing showing all the hard work that you did for others, that's still what sets God's people aside. So do nothing out of selfish ambition. Wow, what a weight. What a weight. Well, it's not a weight if you surrender your heart to God. It gets to be a joy in time. And the thing about loving people is if you want to love God, you have to love people. You don't know how many times I've talked to people and they said this, I love God, I just can't stand people. I don't want to go to church, I don't need to go to church. It's full of a whole bunch of hypocrites. Yeah, I run into hypocrites everywhere, though. I'm still going to go to the DMV, I'm still going to go to the store. I don't get what's so different about, us needing help. I don't go into the ER and say, you're here, you're supposed to be healthy to be in the ER. Right? If we didn't need God, we wouldn't be here, would we? I mean, goodness sakes. If I'm standing up here in front of you as a pastor and I'm saying, look at how I don't have my act together, why on earth should anybody think that any of you guys have it all figured out? I mean, we're all the same, right? Two people in the world. There's saved and unsaved. There's not better and worse people. We all have a little monster inside. If you want to love God, you have to love people. And how we love God is expressed in our love for people. Did you hear what I just said? How we love God is expressed in how we love people. How we love God is expressed in how we love people. 1 John 4:19 through 21 says this, we love because he first being God, loved us. Whoever claims to love God, yet hates a brother or sister is a liar. For whoever does not love their brother and sister whom they have seen, cannot love God whom they have not seen. And he has given us this command, anyone who loves God must also love their brother and sister. It wasn't a suggestion, it was a command. You cannot love the head, who is Jesus, if you do not love the body, who's the church. And I actually hear this almost on a weekly basis. I love Jesus, I just don't love the church. You can't. It's the same body. It's a head and a body. You can't cut off the head. And you know that you hate if you're always saying bad things about, you're always being impatient towards, you're always living for yourself and have no interest in them. This is how you can kind of gauge yourself. And that takes us to the last of the ways to grow. This is number 8, the very last, the last of the secret, and that's respond. Respond. Respond is the last because it governs every single opportunity in your life. This is how you work, okay? Let me enlighten you on yourself. Somebody is rude or mean towards you. Okay? So then you're going to react badly. Right? Somebody does something bad to you, you react. It's okay because they did it first. You do it at the checkout line. You do it with family. You do it with friends. You do it with enemies. You do it with everybody. This is how it works. Somebody does something, you react. Right? That's human nature. That's how we work. So the way of responding is a little bit different. And it's a 2-step process, which sounds simple, but it's not as simple as it sounds. It's easier to write this down on a piece of paper than it is to actually do it. Step 1 is to stop. Just stop. Okay, so they do something, and you are making the conscious decision not to do anything. You are shutting your mouth. You're not going to say that smart comment. You're not going to shoot off because you're angry. You're just going to close your mouth. You're going to stop whatever you're doing. You're not going to rush to fix it. You're going to leave it. Okay? Leave it for a couple days. You're just going to take a step back, completely stop. You're going to let it go. Okay? Now, in this stage, God is going to be able to talk to your heart the more you let it go. The more you work yourself up, the less he'll talk to your heart. So then that takes us to the second step. Respond. And this is where you take the 7 things that we've been looking at, the 7 ways to grow, and you apply it to that situation. And we'll look at that in just a moment. So you're responding to the situation with the 7 things, which were Bible and prayer. Read the Bible, pray. Connect, be correctable, suffer, endure, serve. You're going with those 7 things. And let's look at what the Bible says real quick before I start to apply these 7 things to the situation. It says, in Philippians 4:6, do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. What that means is that you are going through a problem in life, take it to prayer. See, I mean, the Bible teaches this. Respond to your life tragedies with the 7 things. Luke 6 says this, but to you who are listening, I like that. To you who are listening, because I'm not sure that I'm getting my point across, but somebody here is listening. So to whoever that person is that's listening, love your enemies, do good to those who hate you. Now, the word here, hate, isn't just talking about an emotion. Nowadays, we live in a very emotional culture, so everything is based around how you feel. Well, that's not really how it was historically through most human history. To hate someone means not just how you feel towards them, but how you are actively acting and intending towards them. So if I want bad for you, that's hating you. If I am acting bad for you, if I'm talking bad for you, that's hating. To those who hate you, bless those who curse you, pray for those who mistreat you. And you will face this kind of stuff in the church, and you will face it in the world. It's just a matter of time. Because people go here. Okay? You got to be willing to forgive people. If you don't, you'll never have anybody in your life. Why trust people? Why? Because they're just going to let me down. Yep, they are going to let you down. Jesus is the only one who won't let you down. But you still got to forgive them. There's a lot better rewards having friends than not. So responding is about facing your life. Let's say you're mad about something. Pray. Let's say you're scared of something. You just went to the doctor and you got a bad diagnosis. Read the Bible. And I know this sounds flippant, like I'm not really, but I'm telling you I've been there. And I've been with people who've been there too. When tragedies of life come, these 7 things are what will get you through. Let's say you get sick. Connect with the church. Connect with the church. You don't know what a blessing it is to have the church until you don't have it. You know what I mean? I think a lot of people figured this out maybe in 2020. I think. I did. Boy, remember that 6 weeks of all the churches closing down? You remember that? That was hard. You have a bad attitude. What do? Be correctable. When you find yourself in a bad situation, what we try to do is we try to get ourselves out of the bad situation. I just got myself in this. I need to change me. Not going to work. You need other people. You need God. That means you got to be correctable. You got to listen and be humble yourself so you can actually learn from somebody else. What we try to do is we try to make our Christian walk completely dependent on me. I'm not dependent on the church. I'm not dependent on God. I can get there myself. It's an American dream, really. I can claw my way to the top, which it works for business and finances. Doesn't really work for God. God made it so that you cannot grow without the church and without Him. You can't. You can make your daily devotional time, and you're still going to reach a plateau where you just can't grow anymore. You have to serve. You have to grow. You have to lean into the pain. No pain, no gain. You have to do what's right, even if you suffer for it. So you do the right thing. People hate you for it. You keep on doing the right thing. You have to reach a point in your life that you say, even if I'm still going to do what's right. Even if this happens, I'm still going to do what's right. How I wish I had always done that. It's easy to say, hard to live. When you feel like giving up, what do? You endure. That is what makes true endurance, when you feel like giving up and you don't. That is endurance. That's like the definition of it. It's easy to endure when you're having fun. I'm playing the guitar. I'm enjoying playing the song. Yeah, I'm going to endure through the rest of the song. I'm not going to endure. I'm enjoying it. There is no endurance there. When you get overlooked for all the hard work that you do, what do? You keep serving, because you're not doing it for the recognition. You're doing it because there's someone else who needs it. Response is key. Response is the final step. It applies the 7 things we looked at. It's important, because here's the thing I want you to get. You have to do what you know. It doesn't matter all the things that you know if you don't do it. If you don't apply it to your life, it doesn't matter. It does not matter. You can memorize the entire Bible, and it does not matter. It will not get you into heaven. It won't. You can argue for the rest of your life about how the Bible is really God's Word. It's not going to matter. You have to apply it to you. You have to be willing to learn and grow. And that's really the heart of this series that we've been looking at. You have to be able to grow. It's not going to be natural. You have to push yourself and grow. But what we do is we keep doing the same things and we expect different results. This is my day. I'm going to start reading the Bible. Okay, what are you going to change in your day? Nothing. Well, then you're not going to start reading the Bible. That's how that works. You can't keep doing the same thing and expect a different result. I'm sad all the time. I'm depressed. Well, what are you going to change? Nothing. We live in a really weird generation now. It's my generation, the generation that's coming up. They know how to diagnose everything, but they don't want to do anything about it. It's like, okay, you have depression. Great. What are you going to do about it? Nothing. You need to work around it. Okay. Oh, I have anxiety. It's crippling. Great. What are you going to do about it? No, I'm not. I'm not going to leave my house. I'm not going to reposition my life. You just have to work around my problem. It's like that. That's not how the world works. You can't do that. No, but you shouldn't do that. It's just not a good place to be in. If you want something to be different, if you want different results, you have to change what you're doing. Look at your life right now. My finances are a disaster. You have to learn how to take care of your finances. It's not that I'm not making enough. Well, that might be part of it, and for that I would say, yes, you should get a job, but also learn how to not spend your money, and then you're going to see your finances improve. Don't co-sign on loans. Don't take out a bunch of credit cards. Don't buy something you can't afford. Little things like that, and you're going to notice your finances get better. Well, my family life is a disaster. Are you putting forth the time, or are you spending all the time at work? See, that's how it works. What you're doing right now got you to where you are. Everything that you're doing right now got you to where you are. If you want to get somewhere else, you have to do something else. Another way of saying this got you here, it won't get you there. So how does this apply to you? Okay, well, I'm glad you asked, because I was getting tired of talking. So now that you've asked the question, we can move on to the last bit. How does this possibly apply to you? Two things. First off, everybody serves something or someone. Everybody. Everybody in this room, you serve something. Everybody out there, you serve something or someone. Everybody does. Look at your week and ask yourself this: where has my money gone this week and where has my time gone? And that tells you what you are serving. Our time and our money will always follow the trail of our heart. It always will. Always. Our time and our money always follow the trail of our heart. That's the way it goes. It shows your heart, it shows your passion. Is serving who you are, or is it something you really have to struggle to do? I know me, my baseline is to back off and kind of get by myself. I have to constantly push myself to talk to people, to do things, that kind of stuff. It's not something I do naturally. Naturally, I go find a corner and read a book, and I say, y'all need to figure out your own problems. And that's just who I am naturally. It's not a part of who I am naturally. But I will say this: if you're having a hard time serving, try a different area. Maybe you've always tried a service where you're talking to people and doing stuff. There's other things you can do where you don't have to be in front of people. There is. So maybe just try a different area. Ask yourself this: is there a better way to serve? Hey, we're doing this, this, and this. Could we have something that's more impactful? Because everybody serves something or someone. So the question becomes, who is your master? And that's something you have to answer. The second way this applies: have you learned? Have you learned? We go through tragedies in life, and we try to keep doing the same thing over and over and over thing. And here's the thing. When things have happened in the past, what has your response been? When you lost somebody, they died. When you got sick or something bad happened to you, what has your response been? Now, how can you change that in the future? What we like to do is, it's just up to God to change me. I'm not going to do any work. Well, that's not really going to work. You actually have to take the step, right? God parted the sea, but Moses had to walk through it. You know what I mean? There's that thing where we do have to definitely take that step of faith. Do you regularly turn to this list to grow and get through life? Do you regularly say, what can I do in this tragedy? Maybe serve, maybe read the Bible, maybe get connected with somebody else. You know how many people I talk to who say, I'm very lonely? And I say, do you hang out with anybody from church? No. well, you're going to be lonely. Part of the problem of feeling lonely is being alone. That makes sense, right? If you're lonely, you might be spending your life alone. If you're always spending every single moment of your day serving somebody else, you're probably going to need some time to recover, yeah? Have you learned from your tragedies, or are you doing the same thing you've always done and getting the same results you've always gotten? If you are not happy, you are going to have to do something you haven't done yet. If you're anxious, you're going to have to do something you haven't done yet. I know some people have panic attacks just because they can't sit still for 5 seconds. You're going to have to learn how to sit still. Next week, we're going to close up this series by talking about things that will stop you from growing. We've looked at 8 ways that you can grow. Lord, I thank you so much for this church. I pray that you would bless each and every one of them. I pray that you'd be with them as they're growing. Be with them as they're responding to their life situations. God, I pray that you would speak to their hearts, that you would take them to a new level of growth, a new level of service, a new level of knowing you, that you would speak in their hearts and speak in their lives. We thank you for everything you're doing in them, Lord. I pray, Lord, that you give us the heart of a servant. Lord, that you would change what's inside, that we would learn how to truly care for somebody else for their best interest, not for our own. And God, I pray that when we're mistreated or rejected, hated, despised, that we would still serve, that we wouldn't serve just as long as it's easy. We would serve all the time. Lord, let our hearts, our thoughts, our actions, let everything be a praise and an honor to you, Lord, in every moment of every day. God, I pray that you teach us to see every struggle, every single struggle that we go through as an opportunity. Every single struggle, every single heartache, every single pain that we go through would be another opportunity for us to know you in a deeper way. Lord, I pray that you would bless those here, that you would turn your face to them for good and not for harm, that you would guide them in their waking and in their working, in their working and in their resting, Lord. And God, I just thank you for every one of them. We love you. Amen.